Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
So on the foiling of an apparent ISIS terror plot targeting a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna, did the State Department have visibility in advance of that plot?
So
it might happen?
So I will say that we are in touch with the Austrian government about this. They have said it's an ongoing investigation, so I will leave it to them to speak to the details of that investigation. Obviously, the safety and security of Americans overseas is our #1 priority. We have been in contact with the Austrian government about this matter. As a general case, we do share information with our allies and partners about terrorism activities, just as they share information with us. That's not to speak to this specific case, but just as a general practice that we always try to work with our allies and partners about information that we may have that's of concern or that they may have that's concern to us, and we'll continue to do that.
Well, and publicly reported that the plot was disrupted on the basis of U.S. intelligence that was conveyed to the Austrian authorities. So I'm just curious whether the department was also apprised of that kind of intelligence, given so many U.S. citizens might have been put at risk.
So I certainly wouldn't want to speak to or confirm any kind of intelligence information. We have been, and when I say we, the broader United States government has been in touch with the Austrian government. The State Department has been in touch with the Austrian government. And I think it's important to say one other thing about this, which is we do commend the very swift action that they took to disrupt what could have quite obviously been a very serious incident.
Ahead of the tragic attacks at Crocus Hall in Russia, the State Department did issue a security alert to U.S. citizens to avoid large gatherings for 48 hours. I guess it's contingent on the question you haven't answered, which is whether you knew that this was a possibility, why an advisory, a similar advisory, wouldn't have been made in this case.
So obviously I can't really speak to that without getting into the underlying details, which I very much can't do. I will say that we take very seriously our duty to warn American citizens about threats to their safety and security overseas. And when we have information that we need to get in their hands, we get it in their hands as soon as possible. There are times when intervening events take place that make it unnecessary to send that type of information publicly, but when we need to, we very much do.
Okay, and are there any specific resources at this stage being offered to Americans who are still in Vienna, who are concerned they might be at risk? Is the department coordinating any resources, offering any messaging to, again?
So we would encourage all travelers to Austria, just as it's true that we encourage all travelers anywhere in the world to enroll in our STEP program. So if we do have relevant information to them and their particular safety situation, they get it as soon as possible, and we would encourage travelers to Austria to do that. But that said, I want to be very clear: Austria remains a level 1 country. It is a country that we deem to be safe to travel to. Obviously, there are risks in traveling there, just as there are risks in traveling around America. There are risks in being anywhere. But it is a country that's safe to travel to. We work closely with Austrian law enforcement authorities, and they did an incredible job in disrupting this plot, and I think that ought to be remembered. So.